Hey, Judy.
Hi. So you're off to a good start. You got the meeting open. No, I can't hear you. You on mute?
Judy?
Yes.
Wait, I
Can you hear
can't
me?
hear you.
You can't hear me? What is happening? Can you now? Are you on mute? Is that the problem?
Are you talking to me?
Oh, no, I can hear you now.
So
Can you hear?
I can hear you.
Okay, good. Hi, Joe.
Hey, Judy.
How are you?
Great.
We'll
Nice
try to keep
finally
it to
meet.
a half hour.
What's that?
We'll try to keep it to a half hour.
I wish Board of Appeals would keep to a half hour. But
Half hour past midnight.
yeah, that's gonna be a long one tonight because it's once a month this month. So
That stinks.
I'm
Well,
sure.
at least you're well paid for it.
What's that?
At least you're well paid for
Yeah,
it.
we do actually get $15 a vote, I think.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Actually, I got 1099 last year from you guys.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot going on last year.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't think I officially met you. I've talked to you on the phone a few times
Yes.
for that tree I had in my backyard.
Yes, that I hope you retained.
My backyard, yeah, it's good.
No, the tree.
No, the tree we cut down.
Oh, you did.
Yeah, you approved it.
Yeah, sure.
You did.
I
have
doubt
it.
that. I doubt that.
You approved it. It was leaning over some lady's house that she was nervous it was gonna, I don't know, she already had a tree that fell on her house. Then she was nervous that
Yeah.
would fall down. So I don't know.
Didn't you think it was on her property at one point?
It was on mine. She wanted me to pay for the whole thing. I told her we ended up splitting it. It was like
Oh, that
a
was good.
$2,500 tree that
Yeah.
had no
Oh, that's
chance of falling on my house, so I didn't care.
right. I
But
said, hey, take your chances, lady.
yeah,
Good luck to you.
yeah, exactly.
Well, you have that many more leaves that you don't have to rake.
Like again, it wasn't on it was leaning on her property, so it's less leaves for her.
Yeah.
But
So who left the ZBA? Was it Amy?
Amy left, yeah, she is, she works for Cataldo now,
Oh, okay.
EMT, so she just couldn't,
Yeah.
she couldn't do both because she's low girl on totem pole. They gave her all the bad hours, so I think she works
Yeah.
Wednesdays now. And
Yeah.
Tom just got voted in as a voting member now, so.
Oh, that's good. He's been
So now
kicking
we're
around
still-
for long enough.
Yeah, so now we're still one shy, so I think they're gonna be putting out a notice for applicants for
Oh, good.
an alternate.
Yeah, you guys don't usually have a problem finding people.
Although, yeah, although when I got on, I was like, what, 4 years ago? I was the only one that applied, so I got right in, which I guess
Oh, wow.
I would say thanks, but now that I've been on for 4 years, maybe I shouldn't have gone on. I enjoy it. It's good. It's a good
Yeah.
group of guys, and
Yeah, that's good.
it's fun. Somewhat.
Yeah. Some days.
Some days. The quick ones are
What do you mean?
Well,
You
they-
don't like sitting on meetings for 7 hours on a Wednesday night?
not really. I mean, I think our latest meeting went to like 12:31.
I
And it's
believe
fine.
it.
It's fine until you're arguing for an hour about paint colors, and you're like, what am I doing here? Arguing about craziest things.
Yeah, it doesn't sound exciting at
Let's put
all.
him on mute.
No.
Oh, and we're recording, aren't we?
Oh, we are.
You can edit that.
No, can't edit, sorry.
Well, officially, we don't start.
We're gonna
till
turn it into a
6:30.
snippet.
Right. Rebecca, are you all set?
I think so. I think so. So Krista, I made you a co-host.
Oh, great. Thank you.
I hope that works out. I've never been a host before, and I was literally reading the directions sent from Sherry as I was doing this. So hopefully that'll work out. Let me know if there's anything else I need to do.
I think that should do it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Phew.
yeah. So I don't know how you want to start the meeting, if you or Judy or myself.
Well, we just
Yeah.
want to thank everyone for volunteering. It's been a long time coming, this update, and I'm excited. I know Rebecca is equally excited to start this process.
I was just thinking I've been here for almost 15 years minus that 4. And this is the first open space plan I've worked on.
I was
Oh.
involved in the last one, so
Mhm.
I can tell you it's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. We're going to make it fun.
This time's gonna be different.
That's great.
I
So
just-
do you want me,
I-
I don't know, I'm sorry. I don't know what your protocol is or how you want to start the meeting.
I say, Krista, why don't you just go for it and get us started, since you're probably the most knowledgeable of this procedure in regard to the open space plan.
And I send a lot of things to you too. So we have an hour. I want to be mindful of time. Is that our time frame? Everyone? is-
Sure.
Okay.
No, I think that's good.
Okay, we will try to be efficient, but I was hoping we could just do introductions. I mean, it seems like you all know each other, but for myself and my colleague Kelly, it would be helpful just to I know this was sort of trying to represent a lot of different committees, and if you're just a resident or member of the general public. So maybe we could go around and you could introduce yourself and just let us know if you're representing a particular town committee. And I think what might be easiest if I do a kind of roll call. So I have the participant list open, and I will say I have another screen over here. So if you see me look over here, I'm not disinterested. So I'm going to ask my colleague Kelly to start off too. So my name is Krista Moravec. I am a senior planner at Horsley Witten. So we were just retained by the town to help you guys go through this update process. And I will pass it to Kelly.
Hi everyone, Kelly King. I'm an environmental planner with North Newton and am very excited to work on your OSRP.
How about Bill Renault?
Hey, Bill Renault, I'm the town engineer in Wakefield.
Great, thank you. Joseph, or Joe,
Yes.
preference?
Joe's fine. Joe Pride. I'm representing the Board of Appeals, and I will be sneaking out at 7 because we have another meeting. So you see me disappear.
Okay, thank you for that.
Yep.
And I'm just gonna take a few notes too while we go. Sean,
Hi, Sean Cash, Wakefield resident and a member of the Environmental Sustainability Committee. I'm here representing that committee. And my day job, I'm an economist at Tufts University.
wow, great, thank you. Judy,
Judy Green, and I'm working with the Conservation Commission on the update.
Kenneth,
Hi, I'm Ken. I am on the Wakefield Conservation Commission. And in my private life, I work for Mass DEP as an environmental scientist.
yeah, that's help. I mean, can start to understand our expertise in the room too. Charlie,
Hi, I'm Charlie.
Hi.
I've been a Wakefield resident for about 6 years now, and I'm a member of the Recreation Commission.
Erin,
Hi, everyone. Erin Kokinda, Community and Economic Development Director for the town of Wakefield.
great, thank you, Erin. Haley,
I'm Haley, she, her, they. I'm with the Conservation Commission, and I am a filmmaker, artist, and environmental activist.
Karen,
Did you say Karen and I missed it? I'm sorry.
yes, you did. I did.
I'm
Sorry.
Karen.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm the Council on Aging Director here in Wakefield.
Thank you. Let's see, folks. Have I gotten everyone? And then Rebecca, of course.
Yep, I am with the Conservation Commission, work over in the town hall. I'm actually not a Wakefield resident though. So I just figured I'd throw that out there.
Great, thanks. And I think I got everyone. Great. Thank you so much for introducing yourself and to each other. So we have an agenda. And what I think I will start in our first item, and I just want to remind myself, we just had, right. So we're to go through the update process. I thought I would walk through the timeline, and this is a proposed timeline because we have some, different public engagement points in there. Of course, we can talk about those, but I'm going to share the timeline and we can walk through that and you can ask questions, but just to go through our process. And I heard that Judy said that you have gone through this process before. Has anyone else can maybe just raise your hand, gone through either with the town or maybe another town? No, no one? Okay. Share my screen. All right. And I'm going to hope that this travels. Do you still see the, okay, schedule? Okay, great. I did move it around a little bit for my view. So these are sort of organized by task, which is really just more for us and how we submitted our proposal to the town. But generally, they're groups. So we have our first tasks are associated with public outreach and our meetings with you. So we'll meet with you we have 5 scheduled meetings, and we have at strategic points throughout the timeline. So we're looking at November, estimated through August, so through the end of the summer. So these are just these meeting points. We have 5. If folks would like to meet on a more regular basis, you could do that. And, Horsley Witten doesn't necessarily have to be there. It may be to reflect on some of the work that we're doing. If we had questions and you felt the need to sort of come together and talk about some issues, you could do that. But generally, we have 5 meetings set up to go with you all. I'm just going to move you over so I can see in case someone raises their hand. We will talk about a public participation or engagement strategy. And we're going to develop a plan, and that's one of the items on our agenda today. And while we have a strategy, it helps us stay organized and keep us on track, and helps you if you want to talk about the process with others. You have that information with you. That we have sort of 3 events that happen, or 3 sort of larger community checkpoints. So we have 2 workshops. One, we're sort of looking at perhaps the end of January, and another one sort of mid-spring, and those coincide with sort of development of the plan and some other items that we'll get into. But generally, we're looking at 2 sort of public engagement events, and we can talk about what those look like, and how we can get people there, and what sort of activities we might do, and all of that. And then we also propose a community survey. So this would be an online and paper as well, but in a community survey that's more in depth. And we have it here sort of straddling the first engagement, because we've kind of find that people get really excited and they see the announcement, but then we have the public meeting, and it sort of rejuvenates kind of interest and maybe catching people we might not have caught early on. So we kind of straddle it around the first public workshop. So that would be our third kind of bigger outreach effort. But when we go through the engagement strategy, we might do some other smaller things to sort of get people input from them and interested in the project. We do look at a lot of the town's existing work, because you generally, communities like Wakefield, you do a lot of planning around open space and recreational resources outside of the OSRP. So we want to make sure that we take a look at those. And I sent a list of those that we've looked at so far that we have in hand. So if there's anything missing, we'd be interested to know what those are and get copies, digital copies, links to those. We will be doing mapping. So the plan has 9 required maps. I'm sorry, I'm just drawing a blank on that. 8 or 9 maps that we will do that will put those together, and those will be part of sort of the development of the individual sections that you'll see. And those kind of start early on. Excuse me. And then we get into the plan development, and we sort of break this up into the different pieces of the plan itself. And it has 11 required sections, excuse me. And we focus on the opening sections, excuse me, like 2 through 5 here. So really maybe even 3 through 5. And those are existing conditions, environmental inventories, the open space and recreational inventory. So that's sort of our background information. And we like to do those up front and get feedback on those. So we'll have a process of reviewing that with you all. We're also going to be doing an ADA self-assessment. So that is for the plan, you are required to visit all of the properties that are owned and managed by either the Conservation Commission or the Recreation Department. So not every property, for example, school properties we would not visit, but we would use worksheets that the Division of Conservation Services, DCS, has prepared for OSRPs, and we'll use those to go out to every site and sort of identify barriers for people with disabilities. We'll work with the Disability Commission in that process and develop a transition plan to sort of address some of those structural barriers. And once we get to that process, we can walk through that with you and get feedback. But I do have it shaded here. So we could start early if weather permits, or finish up in the early spring. Sections 6 through 9 of the plan. So those are, we kind of schedule those after we've done sort of our big public engagement piece up here. Those are asking about needs and values. So we want to use that, because 6 through 9 are talking about those pieces. So we're talking about community vision for open space and recreation. There's a needs analysis, there's goals and objectives. So all of those are sort of the next big piece of the plan. And so after we do some public engagement, that's we do our public engagement, we get our input, we've done our background, our inventory, and our now environmental reviews. Now we have these two big pieces and we can start thinking about action plan. So that would be section 9. So that will take us through the spring. And then we have our next public engagement here where we're sort of testing that action plan. Did we get it right? What's missing? So it kind of falls within developing these latter sections. And then we kind of put together the final plan and we shop it around, so to speak. So every plan needs to have letters of support from 3 entities that required, but you can definitely have as many as you want. So it would be the select board, the planning board, the conservation commission, and then also the regional planning agency, which would be MAPC, if I'm not mistaken, the Metropolitan Area Planning Council. So we would help shop the draft plan around, they would get input, and then, write a letter of support for that. And that's all part of the package that goes to the division, or to DCS, Division of Conservation Services. So hopefully wrapping that up at the end of the summer. So that is sort of what our trajectory is for what we plan. I don't know if there were any questions about that. It is kind of a lot right now, but we are going to walk through it all together. Yes, Erin.
Yeah, two things. One, I noticed a huge thing that we're missing in current plans is our master plan. And I just wanted to note, I know I've said it to Rebecca and Judy, we're currently going through that process right now, and open space and recreation are a huge part of that, as well as, I know environmental sustainability and resiliency don't fall directly in an open space plan, but I feel like there might be some crossover there. So I just wanted to make note of that. And secondly, are we building off our previous plan, or are we starting from the beginning?
Well, we can, so I'm gonna stop sharing my screen so we can all kind of see each other, but that is a great question. Generally, we do start from the original plan. I know it has been quite a few years since that plan was written, but I think some of that information, soils, some of that doesn't really change, so we can sort of build on that. But I think we are sort of starting a bit from scratch here.
Okay.
It's a great point about the master plan, and we will try to, I have seen some information on the town's website and sort of trying to figure out where you are and how we can sort of build those two together. The master plan might be a little more broader, like a back or two. So I think this plan, the open space and rec plan, would be an opportunity to get a little bit more into the detail if you feel that's something that you want to do, because it is updated, every 7 years, or you have the opportunity to do it every 7 years. So there is that. We could sort of think about that, and as we develop the action plan, incorporating climate and resiliency. Yes, I definitely think that's an opportunity as well. So DCS does have guidance on what they expect in the plan, and that's how they will review it. If that's helpful, I can send that around to folks as well. It is from 2008, but it does give us a starting point, a structure. So we do need to follow that structure, but, and we'll notice that climate is not necessarily mentioned, but I think our open space resources, our natural resources are really critical to build resiliency. So we have been incorporating that into current plans that we're working on. So we can definitely find the connections between those resources. Excuse me.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Thank you. Any other questions? I mean, we can work through. I just wanted to give everyone a sense of the timeline and sort of the different pieces that we were expected to go through. Excuse me. Definitely a little bit of a tickle this evening. Great. So our next item on the agenda is to think about public engagement. And like I said, we are looking to do 2 public workshops. Has the town generally been doing in-person meetings, or have those been primarily virtual?
Virtual.
Virtual. So do you anticipate us doing that for this plan as well?
We've been holding
probably.
some workshops though, right? I mean, we've been
Yeah,
holding
we just had our
workshops.
last master plan in person, and we
Mm.
probably had about the same or less than Zoom. The first 2 sessions we did via Zoom, and I think there's some other meetings too that have been transitioning to more in person.
So we can think about that. I mean, I think we're open to either. If, there's a preference for that. So I did provide for everyone was sort of an example of what a public participation plan is. So it kind of outlines what we would like, what we can do, what we would like to do. And maybe we could talk about that for a little bit. And then maybe that will help us think about in person versus virtual, or maybe some sort of combination thereof. Excuse me. Close this one. Bring it back around. So when we start out with our plan, I think for us, I think my big question is, so when we promote the event, any events that we have, or any, the survey, for example, Rebecca, would you be the contact person that we would like if we wrote a press release? Would you be the person, or is there someone else who we would list as the contact person?
Well, let me ask you this question. I only work part-time. I'm in the town hall for the 2 days. Do you think that would be a problem, or is that suitable?
I think that would be fine. Are you considering maybe perhaps myself be a contact? Would that be?
I haven't, or maybe Judy?
I could, it might interfere with my day job, but.
We can put a pin in it and come back to it.
Yeah, I think we'll figure it out. Yeah.
Okay. But so when we start to, if we write a press release, so that will be one of the things that we'll make sure that, we'll be talking about is, we'll have in there, like, if you have questions, contact.
Right.
Yeah. And then,
I think it would be fine if you left me in there.
okay.
That'd be all right.
This is our general timeline, which I already went to. So for a website, we also like to keep that, if in a flyer or again in the press release, are we going to use the town? It would not be good to know where information will live on the town's website, so we can sort of put a placeholder in here, but something to think about where you'll post announcements. We could do a standalone website that Horsley Witten could develop if there's interest in that. And it would be very basic, and we could have meeting announcements and, what is an open space and rec plan. I could send some examples of those if that seems to be of interest, if you would like us to host it. And it would just be for the project period.
So I mean, we have a communications manager in the town that manages our website. So that, I mean, she, I'm sure, would be able to dovetail that into our website. I mean, I think, Erin, isn't that what she did for your, for the master
I think
plan?
to make things easier, Krista, it's, working directly with Jen McDonald and in coordination with Rebecca and Judy after this call, I could put you guys all on an email together, even with the press release too. She has all the contacts for local newspapers, any community groups. She'd be definitely your biggest asset for all this stuff that you're probably going to talk about below.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's a great point. And I think we would draft all those items, and then she would be sort of the person who has all those contacts, and she would just help distribute it for us.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Great. Yeah, that's a great catch for that. So I think would help get people's input. And, since you've gone through the master plan process or going through it, you might have some experiences, what works and what doesn't work. So that's really helpful. So we are proposing a survey and we would develop it. We use SurveyMonkey for online, to administer it online. But, we would prepare sort of a printable copy sometime if that's requested. We can do that. So is the survey something that you're interested in sort of pursuing? Excuse me.
I think that'd be great.
And we will develop that and draft that, and that could be something we can work through with the committee as well, to make sure we're asking the right questions and in the right way and all of that. So we'll, and we're if we're gonna look to put it out, I'm thinking after the first year might have more interest from folks, a little more focus. So if we wanted to think about after the first of the year, we can start putting together some drafts that that the committee can look at. Excuse me. Yes, Theo. Hello, Theo. I didn't realize you joined us. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. No, Theo Knoll, chair of the planning board, and sorry to be late. Really delighted that the planning board gets to participate and sort of dovetail with all of this, and it's wonderful to work with everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah. No. So my only sort of thought or question is, like, perhaps since we've got one more master plan survey, right? I think it would probably be better to schedule this survey to follow that. So that would mean the survey would be at some point late spring, right?
That would be great to know. Yes, there's a couple of things, right? So we don't want to bombard people with too many things, right? So that's a great point. We want to make sure that we're releasing a survey that is within the schedule of the master plan, but we also want to make sure we're not asking the same questions or similar questions that will be asked or were asked. So maybe that's helpful to look at the previous surveys, and if there's information we can glean from those for the update. And then think about how that fits in with the next master plan survey. And you say that happens in the spring? Are you anticipating it? Or Erin, I see.
Yeah, so I'm kind of taking the lead on the master plan from the town side of things. And so I think as I'm looking at your schedule here on my other screen, I think we were looking to do our fourth and final public meeting in regards to our last two subjects sometime in January, maybe early February. I'm hoping for January. And I see that the public workshop you're looking to do is at the end of January, and then the community survey, I guess two things I saw is around the same time. And then are you hoping to have it open prior to the public meeting as well? Because I see it's a blue block before and after the public meeting. I don't know if that's an indication of anything, like if the P at the end of the block means it's at the end of the month. But with that being said, I think we don't have a definite date yet in January. But yeah, I wouldn't want us to take away selfishly from our master plan survey, even though we're not going to be covering open space and rec in that one, and also taking away from you guys as well too, and so, or us as a group. And so I think we can have that conversation more offline about what that might look like. I actually have a meeting tomorrow about it. And then secondly, we did open space at our first meeting back in the summer or late spring last year. And so I do have those survey questions and some of the results that I'd be more than happy to share with you, because maybe you could go into more depth about, again, they were very generalized, more in depth of what you kind of see there too. So more than happy to share all that information with you.
That would be great. I think, yeah. And I think it would also just help the community recognize that this is a different document, a different process, but we are using all of the same information. But yeah, so and this is a proposed schedule. So I want to make sure, if we can sort of be flexible if you all are flexible as well. So, but yeah, let's talk about how we can all fit together with the master plan process. And I'll just make some notes for myself too. Yeah. Great, thank you. Yeah, so for the first workshop, when we are able to put a date down, so generally when we talk about our first workshop, we're trying to understand issues. So we focus questions on what is the town doing well to protect natural resources, to offer recreational opportunities, what is the town doing, but it could be better. So it's offering programming, but it could be improved this way. So trying to understand what the town is doing, but perhaps isn't quite meeting a need, or could be better offered, or what have you. So that's the second question. And then the third is looking for new ideas, new opportunities for recreation. Are there resources that aren't protected, that natural resources or environmental resources that should be protected, and those kinds of things. So thinking about new ideas, new things that aren't being done today. So sort of those three broad questions, and sort of looking for themes and priorities, and that will help us sort of with the survey, sort of thinking about needs and shaping that. So again, we could do that either in person or virtually. I think both ways we can do small group discussions around those three questions. So Horsley Witten has facilitators to help do that. We can sort of think about when we, so either in person or virtual, thinking about attendance and how many folks we might need. But generally, that's how we kind of approach that first meeting. So that's early on, and it kind of does dovetail, Erin, the survey. So we like to release the survey, use sort of it as a double down. We're going to promote the survey and the workshop at the same time. People come to the workshop, and we can still promote the survey. So we maybe generally having it closed maybe a week after, kind of thing. But again, we're flexible on that. And then the second workshop is more towards the end. We have a primarily complete draft. So we want to confirm the goals and objectives that we've drafted, make sure that we articulated the needs that we heard from the workshop, from the survey, and then present our action plan. And the action plan of the OSRP has, it's typically organized around the goals and objectives. We identify who will be leading that. If it's a town committee or a town department, we assign a time frame to it. So we have 7 years. So generally you could do it by year. Sometimes we do it short term, where that might be the first 2 years, midterm, and so forth. However we would like to organize that, and then we assign a potential funding source for it if it requires funding, and it might be some grants that are out there that we know of that we can generally assign to it. So that would be sort of the action plan that we would present. So tentatively looking at early May, and this is a lot of information for people. So we kind of like to present it as an open house, and people can walk around. But again, we can talk about some of this, but it gives people an opportunity to ask questions and to kind of get into the details of it if they'd like to. And we can also set up a similar type of process online as well. So that was sort of how we would do that second workshop and when it would happen. Part of our data collecting, or just generally, is just meeting with other municipal bodies. So this means town committees, town boards, and commissions. Many of you are represented here, so we can help sort of meet with your committees if we want to get their input on needs and things like that. So we can sort of figure out a schedule for that. If that's something that you would like to do, you can do it. We can prepare you for it if you would like to do it with your own committee or board, or myself or Kelly, we can be there with you and help work through if it's a series of questions or just a presentation, and get some general questions and answers, that type of thing. So how to engage other committees in the town. So sort of thinking about a schedule that we can do that with. And I will also say, which we'll get into, just thinking about process. But one of the next agenda items is Kelly and I are going to interview the different departments as well that are associated with recreation and open space, planning and operation and management. So outside of these committees as well, individual staff at the town will also be reached out to from us specifically. So this was just something about public engagement, but we will doing interviews as sort of our data gathering as well. Didn't want you to think that those folks were left out. Another way to reach people is just to attend other events in town if we're setting up a table or just handing out flyers or postcards or what have you. So just getting the word out if we have the upcoming workshop in that regard. So just trying to piggyback on events where people already are, which may be a similar process that you've done in the open space, or I'm sorry, for the master plan. So if that's been successful, we could think about doing that as well. So those are just some of the highlights of what I have here in the this plan here. But I also, I know I'm gonna like bombard you again. I had some examples of different types of activities that we could do, but it could be, if thinking, you know, we could participate in an event, but if you also wanted to set up a table at one of the recreation sites, if there's like a soccer tournament going on or something like that. So just thinking about different ways to reach people, setting up, you could put, so a pop-up station, someone could be there, or you could just set something up at town hall and just have a poster board with a QR code or a little box to put comments in or something like that. And we can help sort of think about that. So trying to think of different ways to reach people, to get input, so we can sort of craft something that's good for Wakefield.
Yeah, we've been doing a ton of surveys lately. It seems like Aaron and I did a bike and ped plan that had kind of the same, pretty much the same outreach strategy. So I think we might need to think a little outside the box, because it may be surveyed out at this point, I'm thinking. Unless we could give you what the results were for those, because the bike and ped plan obviously looked at recreation to some degree too. So that would help you to some degree.
Yeah, and that's a great point. Yeah, we don't want to, people will just get tired. Oh, another survey. So yeah, if we can think about that a little bit. Are there, maybe it's different groups, local, if there's a committee, or I said talked about committees, but even another community group that we can attend their meeting. They already have a meeting scheduled. We could get on their agenda and talk about different issues that we might have on hand for the open space and rec plan. Yeah, we can be a little more creative if that's been happening a lot lately, or maybe different types of surveys, maybe not such a long survey, or we could do sort of a mapping survey if that's, people want to put a pin on a map and answer a couple questions. We could sort of just make the survey a little more just different from what's been asked before. If that might be another approach to take it.
Yeah, because so I've seen definitely our numbers have gone down, like everything, right? There's the excitement there, as we all know. And so I've tried over the last week, we had to extend our, and when you said a week after our meeting, I would recommend that we extend it longer, because we just had to extend our master plan because the response wasn't as great as we were hoping.
Okay.
And just an idea that I've seen at a few meetings to get immediate survey feedback is like if we do it in person, is being able to people to do it while they're there type thing.
Right.
I find that to be really successful, because while you have their attention. So
Right.
something I just wanted to throw out, something we haven't done yet, but I think could be really helpful.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
I was gonna say, we also did sort of like when we did the video, I mean, the virtual meetings, Aaron, too, we had the mini breakout rooms with each of us sort of hosting a group of folks to get everybody to, get some feedback from the people that were there. And then we did a similar thing for a downtown revitalization project that we're looking at, where we actually had it, but that was live, so that was we had a meeting at one of the schools, and kind of similar idea where we had different tables set around the room, and people went to. So, both of those were pretty successful, I thought, from my perspective. So, I think those definitely would work. But the survey thing, I mean, I think we're going to start to lose participation pretty quickly on those things, because they're not necessarily seeing the fruits of their survey labor, I guess.
I mean, we don't have to do a survey. We don't have to do one.
I'm all for surveys, definitely. I think you capture the people that don't go to the meetings and whatnot. I just think we need to be kind of creative in the way we go about doing it. I think we should definitely still do one. It just, again,
We could, I mean,
$1,000 gift card. No, I'm kidding.
well, we have done surveys where there was sort of an in-
Yeah, we'd get in
like
trouble.
that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think we can do, it's just not handing out money, but hey,
Yeah.
why
Well,
not?
it was,
Right?
it was a. one
I'll
time
fill
we
out
did-
that survey.
I'll do it 5 times. I'm in. Yeah.
We did in Canton, we were trying to get a commuter survey, and one of their commuter stations had a little coffee shop in there. So we did a gift card for the first 25 people who answered the survey. It was a gift card to that coffee shop. They donated it for the survey, but it was a high traffic. People knew the place and they were like, yeah, I want to get a coffee from that place for free. So, but yeah, to that, I mean, we could make more targeted topic oriented surveys rather than general, usually typically we do a survey that covers anything and everything about open space or recreation. And maybe that's not the way to go here. Maybe we focus on topic oriented ones and much shorter ones.
I
That
agree.
take a lot of time.
Yeah, I think it
That
needs to be
might
very
do the
targeted
trick.
as well.
Yeah, and we can also mimic, so we can have a public meeting and then set up a survey or some sort of input that asks the same questions at the meeting. So it'll be, what is the town doing well? We could also set it up that way. And then, do we want to add sort of a geographic component to it where people can say this spot or this place? We could think about that. But yeah, maybe we'll be a little more creative about that, considering how much you guys have been doing already. And we may have a lot of feedback from the existing stuff that you've already done. There may be a lot of input from those for the plan. And we should take credit for that. We've done that in other communities who have gone through a different, if it's master plan or other types of, bike and ped plan, they touch on the same topics. So we can document that, we can take not credit, but reference them in the OSRP, and just reinforces those plans that you've already done as well, to keep moving them forward. All great direction. Thank you. So what we'll do is then maybe we can go back to that sort of draft public participation plan and maybe put a little more meat on it and sort of have some different ideas for you guys to think about in that way. And we just keeping an eye on the time. I lost my agenda. Great. So we'll work on that, and any feedback if you'd like to provide it. So that is that okay if folks send, is there like if Rebecca, are you sort of or Judy, sort of the touch point between us and the committee, or is there comfort in folks? I know we have to be mindful of open meeting and all of that. You can't communicate amongst yourselves, right? You have to, can only do that here in this setting. But how would you like to manage? I'm just thinking if there are other ideas or information that folks would like to send to Kelly and I, is that a direct email or does it funnel through?
Well, I think that's fine. I think Rebecca and I should be copied on them as well, but I think that's fine.
Okay. Okay, great. So yeah, so if there are ideas, if you've seen something done in a place that you think might be a good idea for Wakefield for public engagement, let's see it and see if we can do something similar. In-person meetings, I think Bill, you had a good point. It's a little more engaging. It's a little more fun. We can set up activities. People can talk in small groups. We can still do small groups and virtually too. But that's, those types of things I think we can be, we might have good progress with, but it's the survey. We want to make sure that we're not getting too repetitive. I did want to touch on, so the next item is just understanding the roles and responsibilities around open space and recreation, either the operations, the management, maintenance. Every town has a little bit of a nuance on who does what. And I was just wondering if we could, Kelly and I could just get an overview of, and this will also help us understand who we need to talk to. And, you know, who makes decisions and those kinds of things. So I don't know if, I think we can just let whoever would like to start.
Well, for the most part, the grounds and whatnot are handled through Public Works. So, you know, we have a grounds crew basically that handles most of all of that stuff. And then when we get to the facilities for, you know, schools and stuff, that's handled through the school folks. Buildings mostly are going to be handled through the recreation director. So that includes our AmeriCal Civic Center, and some of the other buildings in town that we're looking to use. They also help to program the different fields and whatnot that are going on.
Yeah, the permitting and yeah.
Yeah, so and then typically I'll work with him on any park improvements or things that are going on. So my group will typically design them or facilitate the construction if we hire a consultant to do that. But for the most part, we're working hand in hand with him.
So all grounds, upkeep, maintenance, all of that is done through Public Works.
Yep.
Schools are handled by the school department and they're sort of on their own.
Yep.
And then any of the buildings, the facilities, the recreation director does that. And
For certain buildings, he manages the kind of the programming components.
okay,
And then Public Works manages the buildings as well. So we have a building department and the building manager, and Public Works manages the you know, the improvements and maintenance and all that.
okay, understood. Okay, so it looks like we'll have to talk to Public Works, obviously the recreation director. I'm sure Bill will be sitting down at some point as well, and talking with you. So schools, I mean, we can talk with schools. They're not necessarily, I mean, we could talk with them and you know, sometimes their usage is a little limited for sports outside of school activities. And I don't know what that relationship is like, but we can, if it's worth reaching out to them because they have the playgrounds and the other fields associated with their grounds, we can always reach out to them as well if you think.
Yeah, I believe the recreation director would be the one, even for the fields that are on school property, he would
Okay.
manage that. I'm pretty sure that's how that works, but we can
Yes.
we can do a little legwork to figure out who handles what.
And we can ask too. I think maybe
Yeah.
the rec director might be our person to start with,
Yeah.
and he can
Yep.
sort of send us where we need to go. Maybe we'll meet with them.
Okay.
That sounds like a good way to.
And I was thinking that you could probably join one of the Recreation Commission meetings in the early next year or the spring next year.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, and we can just do a brief agenda item and just introduce, and we can do that with other committees as well. Just get on just an introduction, especially if we have something planned too. It might be also interesting just to think about the challenges and how an open space and rec plan can help those committees move sort of some of their goals and objectives forward as well. Yeah, that would be great. Thank you. All right, so we'll start with that and we'll start making some appointments for interviews. One of our other items on here is, so we're sort of in our data gathering phase. We collected a lot of reports and studies that were available on the town's websites. We've also received some information as well. And we did have a handout that we sent out to everyone. I think I opened that on my end. And everyone has that. I don't necessarily need to share that. But if there's anything that's missing from there that we definitely should be reading or referencing, Kelly assembled that for me and she put in all the links. So that would be, I mean, there's a lot of work going on. So we have a great starting point. So we want to make sure that we're touching on everything. Great. Yeah, so I won't go into that too much. But yeah, anything that you think that we should be looking at, please send our way. And I also have on here, so any other folks outside of the town that we also should be talking about if there are other community groups or nonprofits that support you all, conservation land trusts, those types of connections. We should also be talking with them and getting input from them as well. And those would be, I think those would be worth an interview or a meeting. Sometimes we can assemble sort of a group of similar stakeholders. If we wanted to do that, we could as well. But something else to think about. Maybe we can get a list of who we should talk to if there's opportunity to get different folks together. Sometimes it's good to hear other opinions or other perspectives, just to kind of get the ideas rolling. So that's something we can also do as well. And then the end, that's really all I had until in my last item is just next steps, but I wanted to just pause for a minute and just see if there are any questions. I kind of feel like I'm just the talking head at everyone, but I want to give you all an opportunity to get acclimated a little bit. I know there's a lot out there. Does everyone have a copy of the old plan and what it looks like? Okay. So, I mean, we have to keep that structure, but obviously the content is unique to Wakefield. I'm going to stop. I don't see anything. All right. Okay.
So any
Yes.
changes to the inventory, the action plan, things like that, do you want that forwarded to you at this point, or?
Yes, please. So
Okay.
I received some updates already. I think Rebecca had sent some along, just some new acquisitions. So we did start from the 2010 plan. And Kelly is working with GIS, trying to get if the town GIS has information that we can use to help supplement that inventory. But we do have to create sort of a spreadsheet of it. And the DCS has requirements of all the pieces that we need to talk about, like lists for each one, the different attributes for it. So once we get the inventory, we can start filling in all those pieces. But yeah, all of the, and we can also include nonprofit conservation land, anything that might be protected. It may not necessarily have public access, and that's okay. But if it has some conservation restrictions on it or protections, we want to make sure that we identify those. Chapter 6 lands, all of that kind of, if it helpful.
Yeah, I'm not sure how good our GIS is to have all of that information, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
We're still unfortunately in our infancy since I got here, so we've been ratcheting it up, but that's through my department, so.
Okay, I mean, we can
directly
start
go
with
to me on
Mass,
that.
yep, we can start with Mass GIS and go from there. I think town parcel data might be.
Well, we supply, the Mass GIS, we supply them that data, so obviously that's us, so.
Okay.
But we
So
can, yeah,
Kelly
we can,
is-
why don't we catch up, because I'm also the ADA coordinator for the town too. So I'll be there for your transition plan. I'm working on actually right now the public realm and for roads and all of that stuff and working on the
Okay.
transition plan. So this is something we were already looking to do. So we
Perfect.
can definitely try to dovetail that with some of the efforts we're looking at.
Yeah, yeah, we're not doing everything. Yeah, so we will connect for sure. That's great. Thank you, Bill. So yeah, so we'll build that inventory. The other thing I have on here is a review of, typically we would audit sort of the old action plan from the previous update. I don't know, do you feel that's worth it to do for this plan? I mean, given that it's 10 years
You
old.
could use it as a guide, but virtually everything is either outdated or it's never, I mean, it needs to be scrapped. It's a good
Understood.
guideline, but I don't think there's much value.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I mean, I started to look at it and Kelly's like,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, it's sort of my internal process. I'm like, oh, we have to look at the prior plan and like sort of say what we did and what we didn't do. But if that's really not a fruitful exercise, we can
No,
use that energy for something else.
yes.
Happy to do that.
Yeah.
Okay,
I do, in the action plan, there is the goal section.
we will keep those.
Yeah,
We
okay.
will revisit them. I'm not going to say, we'll revisit them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, revisit them.
yeah, because I do like the original goals, but of course, the inventory and all the use in the town may have changed over the past 12 years.
Yeah, a lot of the goals are obsolete at this point.
For the
So we
goals
will
too.
revisit them. We'll
Yeah.
revisit them.
Yeah, I do like the trail networks, increased
Right, we're
conservation land
working
through
on- yeah,
acquisition. I do
conservation.
like all that. The
Yeah.
the acquisition made the town acquire more land. So some of the general goals and objectives. That's all I'm saying, not the specifics.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah, we will definitely start with those. But I was just thinking of sort of the details. Okay, so we'll save that energy for something else for other pieces of the plan. Yeah, so that's really all that I wanted to go over with you all. I think we have next steps on our end about engagement. Already have some calls that we're going to make. I think for you all, I would like to hear about, let's see. So if we're not, thinking about the inventory, that might not be everyone's purview, but making sure that we have all of that up to date. Thinking about different engagement strategies. Yeah, I think why don't I prepare some stuff and send it back out to you all for some guidance and have some perhaps homework, a little bit of homework. Other than that, do we want to look at the schedule and sort of think about briefly, and we have a few minutes, how often we would like to meet or how often you would like to meet with us? Like I said, we had some some strategic meetings together, but does that work with your schedules, that what you had planned? Do you want me to, I could bring that back up again if that's.
Are you talking about the first thing that was shared to all of us?
I'll bring that back up. It's always that extra button I have to press that I never do. So I have, not our next meeting wouldn't be until sort of the beginning of January, which might be probably appropriate. And at that time we can think about if we're going to do a public workshop or how we might want to approach that. Is there, and maybe between now and then, Erin and I and others might have communicated about what that schedule. So we'll have some emails about that. But generally that would kind of go over that. We could talk about the survey or sort of approach to a survey. And then maybe have some draft material about the earlier parts of the section to review. So maybe you don't necessarily have some tasks that are immediate, but maybe there's definitely some work for us on our end. So that early January meeting, and depending on when we sort of think about our first public workshop, we might want to straddle that with the meeting so we can sort of talk about it after and what we've heard and sort of how is that going to direct us for our next pieces of the plan. So we could sort of think about a little bit at a time, our schedule, or do folks need to have sort of a more concrete something in their calendars?
No, I think that's fine.
Okay, so why don't I can work with Judy and Rebecca and we can put for a date that might be in early January.
Sure.
Okay.
And I think people, if they can look at the old, the goals, that section, there might be some things to pull out, that we can tweak to other areas, ideas to put together to move into the next plan.
Yeah.
Because like the trails, we're working on that with conservation. We're developing a trail steward program and we're trying to get conservation management of several tax title parcels in town. So hopefully the ball will be rolling more on that as we get closer to January too.
And if there are other reports and studies that aren't in our list that we should be looking at, so please throw those along. Theo, I saw your hand up. Did you want to offer?
Yeah. I'm supposed to go talk to the Friends of Lake Quantapowhat at their next meeting, which is the December 2nd. so that's right around the corner. I'll certainly mention all of this, and I mean, there's certainly a group that you're going to want to talk to, and I'll figure out what their schedules are. I don't know if they're participating.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, and maybe at their next meeting, and we might have more of an engagement strategy fleshed out at that point. So we might have something for them to distribute, if they have their membership or folks that follow them, they can help. And I think those are key. I think maybe that's another thing to think about is if we're going to start spreading the word about a survey or a public workshop, maybe sort of collect who those folks might be, so we can make sure that we reach out to them. And if you feel comfortable sending information to them, we would be happy to prepare, we'll prepare a flyer, we'll prepare sort of little snippets that might get posted in Facebook or a little icon or an image or what have you. So we can prepare all that to help with getting the word out, any sort of graphics or anything that would be needed. So maybe think about who your contact and networks are too, that can help us get the word out. That would be great.
Can I ask maybe if you could jump into at some point a Council on Aging meeting? Because I know Karen had mentioned maybe some recreational opportunities for older people. Trying to pull them into the loop as well.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, and I don't, Bill, I think you said you're working with on the ADA, if the Commission on Disabilities also, they're going to be part of that process as well, but we can also meet with them. Yeah, any committees that we should be also.
That'd be great.
And yeah, Council on Aging is a good one. Yeah, someone who might not be on this in this group here too. Yeah, great.
Well, Karen's the director.
Yeah, I'm here. That'll be good. I'll talk to you so we can set up the best time to come. We're going to be starting in January looking at our age-friendly plan. And part of that will be open space. So I definitely will work with you to figure out the best meeting to come to and talk to my board members. Thank you, Judy, for mentioning.
You're welcome.
Are you guys meeting virtually still? The Council on Aging board? Okay. Yeah, we do have a copy of the age-friendly action plan from
Because the senior center might be a place to capture some survey participants as well.
Or even just set up a table during the lunch hour. If that's helpful.
Yeah, we can talk. Definitely, we think some surveys over here would be nice, and we could set up some good times that we're busier. That would be good to come in and meet some of our participants, who I think they love to share their ideas. So it would be a good place to come and be able to get some of their feedback in person.
Any other ideas? This is great.
Well, I think the Board of Health should be looped in as well. I mean, there's a big focus now on the mental health component with open space and just overall physical benefit.
Yeah, we learned a lot during the last 2 years how critical these places are for us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have been incorporating some of that in other plans, or just even reflecting on the impact of the if it's high usage or all that kind of stuff, how might have us look at either programming or different types of activities that are offered. So yeah, health, definitely.
Yeah, perfect, because I've been wanting to work with them on some dementia-friendly aspects too that we'd like to consider, especially if this is a 7-year plan to get in there.
Obviously, this is not our last time that we're going to talk. So, and you can send emails. I think maybe I will, I don't know if I have a group email. Maybe it would be, Trying to think, I'm just gonna do a quick, I think all of the emails I've gotten have just been either from Judy or Rebecca, so maybe it would be helpful to have a group email sent, so I have everyone's contact information and then you have mine.
Sure.
And then we can go from there.
I made a group for these guys here, and I will add you into it. That was on my list of things to do, so I'll take care of that tomorrow.
Great.
Figuring you all
Great.
need each other's emails and whatnot.
Excellent. Well, I'm very excited. And I hope you are too.
Don't we just need to be careful if we're all in the same email not to write back to each other? So
Right.
maybe
Yeah,
start
so that,
BCCing.
Right.
That's what I've been doing, just to save myself from getting myself in trouble.
right. So it's just to send me information.
Just you. Okay. Okay.
There's no communication amongst the group. And I think I briefly mentioned that earlier, like it's just to forward ideas and information to me. So if we want to save our discussions for these meetings amongst each other, just for the open meetings laws and making sure that that kind of thing happens. Yeah, so just to communicate stuff to get me what I need to get to, or ideas or what have you, so. Thank you, Erin, for that reminder. And. Okay.
Yeah.
Do we do a formal adjourn? Do I hear a motion?
Yeah.
I know, I kind of get stuck in those meetings. I don't know how formal these meetings are, but
Not formal.
not
Very
formal
informal.
in that regard.
No,
That's,
this was great, though. I appreciate it. This is a great start.
yep. We have a lot of work just for right after this meeting.
Yes.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you all.
Yeah,
Agreed.
thank you.
Good night.
All right.
Good night.
Very nice to meet you and look forward to the process.
Thank you. Me too, Thea. Thank you.